Genesis. Genesis chapter 3. Here is, I don't know if this is the first case, but it is as far as humanity is concerned, recorded here in Genesis chapter 3. And this is the prime identity theft here. Now the serpent, verse 1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Did God really say, you must not eat of the tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but God did say, You must not eat of the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. Now wait a minute. Did Adam or Eve call and request a visit from the serpent? Okay, very important when it comes to identity theft. If you don't make the call, don't get involved. Hang up on the crook. Don't try to reason with the crook when it comes to identity theft. So, what does he say? Well, you've got a problem here. You should be able to have this. You have a need here. You have a need to know, is what the serpent is saying. And then he gives, well, if you touch it, we're going to die. This is going to happen. You will not surely die. I've got something that's going to help you, the serpent said to the woman. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. This is what you're going to know. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desire for gaining wisdom, she took some and ate it. It's a too good to be true scheme. It is a scheme unsolicited by the serpent saying, I'm going to really help you out. So what was stolen? You say, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything stolen. What was stolen was the identity of who they really were in God. Because after this now, how do they see themselves? Before that, they identified with God. They were naked in the garden. They were husband and wife. They had this. Now, all of a sudden, what was stolen from them was their life with God. Their identity as to who they really were. God told them earlier that I have made you. I have made you in my image and all of that. And then he gave them directions on what to do. So Satan stole their identity. And who did they identify then with? They identified with Satan. They identified with the serpent. And their life, what did happen? Their life was shot. Yeah, they were hiding from God. Their life was never the same because Satan stole their identity. Now think about that for a while, because it doesn't end there. Because when you read through the Old Testament, what do you find? Time and time again about God talking about people who don't know the one true God, who don't have an identity in God. They have identities in all kinds of other gods, strange gods, all these kind of things, but they don't have an identity in God. So, but once scammed, you've learned your lesson. It'll never happen again. It'll never be practiced on you again. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Let's go to the book of Matthew and let's see the same thing happening again. Same character, the devil, Satan, but now who's he trying to practice this on? He's trying to practice this on Jesus. So Jesus then was led up by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted by the devil, and after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. And the tempter came to him and said, now, did he ask the tempter to come? Did he call, saying, hey, I need to dial up the tempter. Hey, tempter, I'd like you to come here and help me turn some stones into bread. And help me with this and help me with that. No, Satan comes along. And he says, the tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. And Jesus answered, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but by every word that comes forth of the mouth of God. Now notice here, this is an identity problem that Satan starts with. What does he say that makes it an identity problem? If you are the Son of God. It's a question about identity as to who He is. So the trick is to fooling men to giving His identity. I am the Son of God, and I'll show you that I am the Son of God by giving you my Social Security number. And He's going to bankrupt him. Jesus didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. He didn't give him that information. He didn't follow that. And he tries this 4 times. Now, that's interesting because when people call you in order to try to get your identity or write something to try to get information from you, they don't stop at 1 time or 2 times or 3 times, 4 times. They're going to keep at it. So Jesus said, if you be the Son of God, the scam artist will make promises. What is Lucifer, what is the devil doing here? What is Satan doing? He's making promises. He says, we'll turn this rocks into bread. Then the devil took him to a holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. Again, using, if you be the Son of Man, of God, throw yourself down, for it is written. I've got information, this is, and he'll give you some information that you think, well, this is true. I mean, people pose as the FBI. We're doing, a research into the bank. There's somebody in the bank that's stealing money, but we're trying to get that information. So we're going to use you to get that information. So if you can just give us the last 4 digits of your bank number. Again, this is Satan trying to steal Jesus' identity from him. And then he says, of course, he misquotes all that information. And Jesus keeps coming back. It is written. And I'm just trying to remind us that, where our strength lies. Then he took him to a high mountain and showed off all the kingdoms and their splendor. All this I will give you. Here's what we'll do. We'll give you this lottery, this winning, this $100,000 if you'll send us in. We need to pay the taxes on it. So if you'll just send in $782.16, and, or we can draw it from your bank account, or we're trying to give these people Western Union. We're checking out Western Union. So mail this by Western Union. We're going to check and see whether or not this, the scams go on forever and ever. So, again, if you haven't been called, you will be. One, thank you, Roy. You will be called, but you're the one who initiates. If I want to talk to the bank, I'm the one. The bank doesn't call me. I call the bank. And that's an important thing about identity theft. So how did Jesus, and finally we find that Jesus identifies the tempter for who he is in verse 11. In verse 11, he says here, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve Him only. Jesus identifies the tempter as Satan, and then secondly, He identifies with God. Now, why is this important? Well, let's move on, and I'll show you why it's important. From the beginning, Jesus, how about our day and age? Well, let's take a look at Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24, and again, this is an identity crisis. Identity theft is trying to take place here in Matthew chapter 24. This is where the disciples ask him, show us the end of the age. And Jesus, sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. Many will come in my name claiming I am the Christ.
Feeling the blues today or tired of life already? Do you have questions about life or need spiritual advice? We can help. Log on to worldwidechurchofgod.com or wcgfairfield.blogspot.com and stay connected to reality. The Worldwide Church of God in Fairfield, Santa Rosa, and Modesto are located in the San Francisco Bay Area, regarded as the most prosperous region in the United States. We believe Jesus Christ when He proclaimed in Matthew 6:24 that serving God is more important than serving mammon. We welcome everyone to come and worship and fellowship every Saturday at the times listed on your screen and on our website, worldwidechurchofgod.com.